Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Nintendo Review Podcast. Today we have four of us, so expect an epic 3-hour podcast. But we're all in different areas of the country, aren't we? So obviously I'm joined with Greg and Lee, and Nick Tendo has joined us again. But Nick, you're in Russia. Lee, you're in Taiwan. I've got no even comprehension of what time zones you guys are in. Is it like daytime for you?
You can't see by our eyes. Look at my eyes. Blurry.
Yeah, I don't know. Could have been doing anything.
It's 6:30 in the morning here.
Wow, it's dedicated.
Dedication.
Well, yeah, what about you, Nick?
It's 1:30 in the morning, and I've just enjoyed Man United beating PSG. And yeah,
Did you enjoy it?
I actually did enjoy it. It was a good game. I was cheering United on, even though I'm a dirty Leeds fan. I was hoping United would win, and they did, because I hate Neymar.
I thought he was a Liverpool fan.
No. Where'd you get that idea
Aren't
from?
Leeds and Liverpool both Man U's biggest rivals? The two of them together.
There you go. That's the ticket.
Is it true? Complete tangent, but is it true that the McDonald's near Ellen Road isn't red?
Isn't red?
Yeah, it doesn't have any red on it. They got rid of the red.
What colour is it? Blue?
It's been about 10
blue.
years since I've been there. No, I don't know. I think it's a normal McDonald's. I'm sure it is.
Well,
From what I remember.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm in my memory. I'm like, oh, it's not red near Ellen Road. Maybe not. I've got no idea.
Supporters gone up there and painted it.
I don't know. How you doing, Greg?
Like Nick, as a Liverpool fan, I actually enjoyed seeing Man United win tonight as well. It was a really bizarre feeling. I feel dirty in many ways.
It'd be a big shame if Liverpool are the only team not to make it through the next round.
I know. I'm kind of feeling like that might be what was going to happen. We'll see next week.
I think you'll be fine. I reckon the semi-final, all four teams in the semi-finals are going to be English teams. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Let's do it.
Anyway, we don't really care about any of that. We need to chat about the news, and very quickly. So as always, there is an insane amount of news to go through. Lots of new games to get us excited, except Greg, who doesn't get excited about anything. The first bit of news, there was a Pokemon Direct, and they showed off...
Oh, someone's happy about it, Nick.
Oh my god, a bit of excitement.
It was only 7 minutes
I've never
long.
seen it before. So
Plus, unfortunately, it's totally fake excitement as well. Stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So they showed off Pokemon Sword and Shield. After Pokemon Let's Go, my interest in Pokemon has just disappeared forever now, so I don't care about this. I thought it looked alright, to be fair, but do any of you care about Pokemon Sword and Shield?
I always kind of look at Pokemon games, I think, oh, I'll get the next one. The next one, it's always the next one, the next one. And for about 5 minutes watching the 7-minute direct, I thought, oh, this could be a possibility. And then seeing them running around that empty overworld, it's like... And then I played the Pokemon Let's Go demo, which is a shambles. I get what you are at on that. It's just point click, throw, and the throwing mechanism doesn't work. And if they implement any of that in this, which obviously this is going to be more of a straight game, I know eventually my enthusiasm, which was small anyway, will just dissipate, and then I won't be picking this up.
Have you ever played any of the others?
I forgot which one it was. It was one of the ones on the DS. It was like the Pearl one or the other one. I played for about 3 hours.
And
that's it.
I guess you was about 30 when the first one came out anyway, weren't you? So it was never aimed at your demographics. Nick, obviously,
Yes.
You're new to the podcast. I've got no idea what your interest is. So I'm actually more interested in what you've got to say about most of the news. So Pokemon, is it a game that you like? I've got no idea.
It's, well, Red and Blue was when I was, 97, 98, when I was about 11, 12 years old. It was the best thing ever.
Youngster.
I was obsessed with it. Gold and Silver, played through that. We even managed to download an illegal Japanese version with my best friend and played through it in Japanese before it came out in the UK. And that's it. That's all I played. And then on the 3DS I got X. I think I finished it. I can't remember. And I've never played any other Pokemon games outside that. But this one, firstly because it's in Britain, that's quite interesting, but from a personal standpoint. I haven't played Let's Go like you boys. Just never been interested in it at all. But I'm ready for another Pokemon game, so I'll probably get this, to be honest.
So to the Let's Go, didn't it appeal to you? Like, if Red and kind of Blue was of interest, you didn't think...
I mean,
relived
the whole, like, we're going back to the original Red and Blue world and it's going to be the same Pokemon and all that. It was kind of interesting, but I downloaded Pokemon Go on the phone and I absolutely hated it. I played it for about 2 days and then I just got bored of it. I don't know, like, the graphics are a lot nicer, actually, than the new one. In my opinion, it looks better, a lot better. Because the graphics on this looks DS-like, 3DS-like. But that's fine, like, I'm not bothered about the graphics, to be honest, really. But the world looks quite interesting. I'm not really that bothered about the new Pokemon, but if it's going to be a decent 30, 40-hour adventure that's kind of similar to the old games, then I'll be up for it. I'll pick it up, probably. Competitive Pokemon, absolutely not interested, though.
Do you reckon they'll do more of them? Surely that's coming as well.
Probably.
Like the next batch. Yeah, I reckon. Arcade Archives of Carrier Warriors, Lee. Why are you particularly excited about this? Is this like a reliving? Is this more your youth? More like early 80s? Sort of?
It is.
Is it university?
This was a game that was in my 50s. This is a game that I used to play in the arcade as a kid. Not that we could go to the arcade much, but when we would pop in the arcade, it was games like Commando and Ikari Warriors. But then bringing it back on, I think I had Ikari Warriors as well on the Commodore 64 or the Commodore 64 it was, and playing the hell out of this. So this has got such a nostalgia trip. Coming out on March 7th, it looks possible for a pickup, definitely.
I should have checked this beforehand. Is this SNK?
Yes.
Because it's on the SNK collection.
Ooh, yes, yeah. Neo Geo, SNK, yes, SNK, yes, it is, yeah. You are right, yes.
So it came out for the NES, doesn't it? Why don't you just pick up the SNK collection and then you can get that and 20 other games?
The Arcade Archives do wonderful things with the filters and blah 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 and all these extra challenges and everything built in. I'd rather have a more focused. Do the
SNK collection does.
Oh really? Oh dear.
And it has a rewind function and a forward function, so you can forward past bits and then carry on playing. So it has like a.
Oh yeah, you told us about that. So it sounds like I'm going to have to do some research into how much money I'm going to be spending in the next week.
Why spend £7 when you can spend £40, Lee?
Exactly.
You can have 20 games you don't want. Yeah, anyway, cool. Another game that got announced this week, and I'm surprised none of you guys are interested in this, Moto Rush GT, which uses the Labo bike kit. You're all sort of like, you like racing games more than I do, but how come none of you are interested?
I've seen 2 screenshots from it.
Okay.
Don't know how it runs. It looks fine. But it looks. Have you seen those games where you're running away from one of those is coming out soon as well? Into the Dead. It's like a cell phone game, and you're running along a straight line into zombies, but you're taking them out so you don't get stopped on your run.
Oh, a runner.
It's like an auto runner, but a 3D perspective, first person running forward. It's got that kind of look to it. Now, whether or not it's fully, you can go anywhere you want, but you're basically riding this motorbike down. It looks like a freeway, a motorway. I got all American on you. Down a motorway and between cars. So whether or not you can go diverge and go off the road and go whatever you want, but from the looks of it, and it looks like an eShop game as well, probably not. So interesting that they are using the Labo Toy-Con motorbike. One for you, Darren. You're the only one with the Labo Toy-Cons. Do you have any, Nick?
I've got some, yeah, I've got some. I got the third one. Actually, I've got the motorbike handles as well, but I've not built everything yet.
Got another game for it. Oh, I thought it was like a proper racing game. Is it not then? Is it a bit of a naff cheap?
Oh, that's what we don't know.
Yeah,
From the 2 screenshots, it looks like a naff cheap thing, but it's solid. Looks solid.
We'll see. We'll see. Another Arcade Archives game that you are interested in, Lee. Ninja Gaiden. And in brackets, it says Shadow Warriors. So this is Ninja Gaiden 3, isn't it? Or 2? Or...
No,
Shadow Dancer.
Shadow Dancers. No, Shadow Dancer is Shinobi. Yeah.
I'm so knowledgeable.
It was something about a ghost.
Oh, so that's the one with the dog, isn't
it? No, Shadow Warriors is the arcade version of Ninja Gaiden, but it did something completely different in that it went down the Double Dragon route. So this one is walking down the street, beating waves upon it, waves and waves of enemies. And it was, I think this game was the one, even before I played Final Fight, that kind of cemented my love for the 2D scrolling beat 'em up.
So it's not like the NES game or anything like that?
Nothing like it at all. It is one of those really, really hard games where you get like 2 lives and it's a quarter muncher. Cheap deaths, all that.
Yeah, so Ninja Gaiden is difficult enough, but this is like an arcade version of that where it wants to rape you of all your money. Yeah, this sounds alright, but it won't have online, which is a bit annoying, isn't it?
Arcade Archives? No, they don't have any online, do they?
No, that is a shame. Nick, you like motor racing. And Curve Digital are releasing Motorsport Manager. This came out of nowhere. I saw it on the eShop and I was like, oh, bloody hell. It's coming out next week. Motorsport Manager, is this a game that interests you?
Have either of you played this, by the way? It's been out on Android and iOS for years.
And they've had 2 sequels as well. There's now Motorsport Manager 3 on mobile.
Really?
Yeah.
I've played the first one, and when was it? Must have been a few years ago now, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's no Jeff Crammon's Grand Prix Manager 2, but
isn't
it's all right.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's all right for what it does. Are you into racing sim managers, Lee? I know you're an F1 fan.
Yeah. This as soon as I saw that this was coming to Switch, and I've never played the actual Motorsport Manager, but I've read about it. Yeah, it's a solid 8 out of 10. If you're into motorsport. If you're not into motorsport, obviously you're not going to give it such a high score. They say it's a really deep experience, but from what I can see, it's more intuitive to use, and on the Switch as well, with the touchscreen bits and pieces for the sliders for changing your tyres or whatever. It looks very solid.
It's all right. Yeah, it's not as deep. Maybe, well, from what I remember, the first one's not as deep as it could be, but it's all right. And it's bad because there's no licenses either. So
yeah.
It's all fake names and fake
tracks
teams and fake
as well.
servers,
There's a New Zealand track,
for what it is, it's fine. Yeah,
Are
if
you
it's
cheap
enough, I'll get it. If it's cheap enough, I'll pick it up.
It was it was between. No, I can't remember. If it was $11.99 or $14.99. I'm plumping for in the middle, say like $12.99. It's not that expensive.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll probably get it.
Same here.
Sounds like New Star Manager for football. Then, where it's like not official licenses, like a really simple version of a management game. Fair enough. I'm not going to get that. Now, this next game is a game that all of us should be interested in. It's Friday the 13th. Mentioned this before of my desire to want this on the Switch. I think it was when that awful game, that N64 looking game in the Direct was shown. I was like, I wish it was final Friday the 13th. Am I the only one who's interested in this?
No.
Is it going to be one of those games where...
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited by this. Anybody else, Greg?
Yes, if I imagine a group of us together, it would be like great fun playing it actually. But when we seen what was the other one called, Dead by Daylight?
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight.
Whenever we saw that, and it looked really ropey. As far as I was aware, like the Friday the 13th game was supposed to be pretty janky in places as well. I don't know if they've improved it or what it'll be like on the Switch, obviously, but I'd heard it was a wee bit.
I've seen a couple of screenshots from the Switch as well, and it looks considerably better than just taking looks in. But obviously, that's not it moving.
That Dead by Daylight. Oh boy. That was awesome.
I mean, like my wife's family, they're all into horror and stuff, and like my wife likes a bit of horror, so she'd probably enjoy watching it. So it's the sort of thing we'd probably have a laugh with together, if a laugh's the right word when you're trying to kill people.
But I think it is meant to be a bit a laugh. The concept's awesome, but again, it's one of those ones where if you can get a group of people together, then it's going to be great. But if you can't, then
and they say it lives and dies, especially for the survivors, by its voice chat.
Oh, well, that's a great system to be on then.
Yeah, perfect.
We'll see. Nick, is this just like couldn't be further of interest for you?
I don't know anything about it, to be honest.
I'll pitch
Just
it.
the name.
I'll pitch
That's
it to
all
you.
I know.
See what you think. One person is Freddy. No, good start. One person's Freddy Krueger. So one person is Jason, and then the rest of the people are like the teenagers on the lake, and the people they've got to escape before Jason kills everybody. That's pretty much the concept. So like a group of us, say if it was us four we're playing now, so there's like, say you three are all the teenagers, I'm Jason Voorhees, and I've got to go around massacring you and you've got to escape. But there's like loads of different ways to escape, and I think the kind of the kills and things like that are a big part of it, almost like the fatalities on Mortal Kombat. But you got to so you can like build a car or something like that, like get pieces of a car, and there's loads of different ways to escape, or you can try and kill Jason, or it's meant to be really good fun. If really limited in terms of what it can do, it's pretty much that's it. Just a multiplayer game where you could just kind of like take it in turns. But it's I've watched kind of videos of it and people playing it and stuff like that, and I thought, yeah, that's the kind of game that I think looks awesome. But it's about price. Is it cost £30? Then is it is for what is how often are you going to play it? Is it going to be worth £30? Probably not. But if it was like 10, 15 quid, then playing it a few times, I think it'll be good. But we'll see what it's like, see what the port's like, see what it is, and we'll if enough of us can get it, then hopefully we can convince a few of us, because I want to play it badly, but we'll see. Lee, you was really excited about talking about Daemon X Machina. I'm sure you guys chatted about it last time.
Yeah, we did.
I want to know why you want your updated thoughts on it. The game is naff.
I haven't any updated thoughts on the demo itself. I haven't even beat the second mission, but I just thought the news itself was worthy that if you are ever so slightly interested in it, play the demo, and that will dissolve you of your interest probably, because the demo is being taken down off the eShop from March the 11th. which is end of this weekend. So you got until the end of this weekend, and then you won't be able to download the demo. Whether or not that impacts people who have downloaded the demo already and they won't allow you to carry on playing the demo is another thing. That's what they didn't mention.
I'd imagine they'll definitely stop you being able to play it.
I need to get back on that and see if it gets better.
Yeah, I'm still, to be honest, in all seriousness, I'm actually still quite interested in it, see how it turns out. But the demo put me off massively. I thought it was really slow and boring. I couldn't. It's difficult to see the enemies, and
the controls need to be remapped totally.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed. But obviously, you guys kind of chatted about that. In the continuing endless deluge of new games coming to the Switch, Gods Remastered. Probably get a lot of ports, don't we? But Gods Remastered. I don't know if any of you played this on like Amiga. What else was it on? I can't remember now. But so they're releasing this like a 90s. Was it 90s? Was it not 80s? Late 80s?
On their official spiel, on their official flyer, it did say 90s. So I would have said late 80s, but they claim in 90s. Let's go with
that. Have any of you guys played this?
Yes.
Nope.
Absolutely hardcore 2D platformer that I never really got far into. The protagonist is quite slow. It was like that game, Darren. Are we talking about Toki? The one where the human is turned into the monkey, and it's got very chunky main sprites, and everything is quite chunky in its sprites. It's very slow moving, it's very well paced, but very, very difficult. And you can flick between the original sprite work of the 90s, or you can go for that kind of 3D modern look. And to be honest, the sprite work looks better.
So are you going to get it, or you've just played it? And that's it. You're interested.
It depends on the price once again, and whether or not it's worth going back for from my nostalgia. But I'd rather pick up something like Ikari Warriors.
Yeah, unlucky gods.
Yeah.
Right, Greg, we've barely heard from you today. It's because you don't like anything. But when it comes to naff old consoles, like there's only one person who's at the front of the queue waiting for that, and that's you, Chork. Now, surely all of us as being Nintendo fans, surely we've all played this and got amazing memories of this game. So, Greg, I want to hear from you. Are you excited about this?
If you're looking for amazing memories, I can't really give you that because I haven't really played Turok.
Oh my god.
The first one I actually played was the second one, and for me, like, the levels were like far too big and stuff, and going between checkpoints, if you went for ages and then you died and then you had to go through it all again, it's like, it was just like it pure killed it for me. But I do have the first one, and again, I've played a few levels and not very far. Always kind of found the controls a wee bit awkward because I was sort of used to GoldenEye moving with the analog stick and stuff. So when you're moving with like the C buttons and trying to aim with the left stick and like do jumping and stuff as well, it was always a wee bit awkward. Did kind of get used to it, but the fact that the first one and presumably the second one as well is coming to Switch and we'll get more modern controls and stuff, I'm definitely interested in giving it a go again because they don't really make shooters like that anymore.
Some would say good. Nick, have you ever played? Did you play Turok back in the day?
I played both of them, and I enjoyed them a lot. Good games, really enjoyed them. And do you know the connection with these two games with Nintendo or not?
There was exclusive to Nintendo
in the future. No, the guys who made Turok 1 and 2 went on to form Retro Studios.
Did they?
No.
I do. Yeah, in fact, I think I did read today that there was people involved in making Metroid Prime. Yeah.
Everything that if you, especially the first Prime game, a lot of it is based on what they did with Turok 1 and 2.
Because they were quite platformy, weren't they, Turok? I remember needing the map on all the time to get the jumps right and stuff.
Yep. They're good games. They run like complete... Sorry, but hopefully on the Switch they'll be a little bit better. But no, they're good. They're good games. Lots of exploration, big open worlds. I enjoyed them a lot, and I can't wait to play them. I'm getting them both day one, definitely.
Have they dropped the fog back?
It looks like it actually from the screenshots. Yeah.
That's quite nice because being such a big open world, you need to see things, and that's one of the limitations of the N64, wasn't it? You couldn't see further than about 20 meters.
Yeah, I loved the Choro games and Rage Wars. Did you play the Rage Wars game?
No, but I played
That's the multiplayer one, yeah?
3. Did anybody play that one?
Nope.
No, that one was.
It seems quite rare.
It was, yeah. It came after Rage Wars as well, and I think everybody had their fill with Rage Wars because that was just the multiplayer, and then Turok 3 was in a city rather than that kind of futuristic landscape.
Was that on the N64 or was that GameCube?
N64.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, no, I never even knew about that one.
Yeah, that was dire. That was the worst of the lot, I think.
Well, there was one on the GameCube, wasn't there? What was that called?
Evolution.
Anyone play that?
No.
Nope.
I think I maybe played part of the first level at my cousin's, but I don't really
And then
remember it
gave
very
up.
well.
So are we all picking this up?
I'll get it. Yeah, I'll get it. If the price is right, I'll get
£20 for the first one.
Is
it
it
really?
£20?
19.99. Well, that was US dollars.
No, it's dollars.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
US
Oh,
dollars. So it might be 17.99.
Yeah, I think
maybe.
I can't remember whose video I was watching, but I remember them showing like the Xbox listing of it or something, and it was $15.99 there, I think. So
That's
I could-
Capcom's exchange rate, other than Resident Evil, which was direct, wasn't it? It's like $30 and £30. But their $20 games, Okami and stuff like that, are $15.99. So hopefully, but ultimately, $15.99 to £20. It's not bad.
Is there multiplayer in the first one?
No.
No, it's just a single player thing.
Oh, the cerebral bore.
The second one didn't have multiplayer either, did it? I can't remember.
No.
Did it not?
Don't think so. No.
Surely it
Maybe
did.
not.
If it did, I didn't play it.
I have no memory
Because
at all
like
of.
they hit. It's weird
Oh
for
no,
them
they
to
did.
have-
No, it did.
I'm sure it did. Yeah.
Because it's weird. It'd be weird for them to go from
It
nothing
did.
to then go into Rage Wars with like four
Good
player.
point. Good point. Yeah, because
I'm looking now. Turok
they
2.
grew the experience in Rage Wars and the multiplayer experience, didn't they? That they had imprinted in Turok
Yes,
2. Yeah.
It does have multiplayer.
Yeah.
Never played it or not though. Too busy playing GoldenEye.
And we've saved the best till last. NES Online. Greg, surely this is for you. Why have you not put your name down on this one? Come on.
Oh, you're actually waiting for an answer, are you? I couldn't care
Just
less.
refuses to talk about the NES. We've gone from the worst console to the best console.
Whoa.
You're a ridiculous human being.
Fighting talk.
To be fair, again, for the third month in a row, we've got 2 games. In Japan, I've got 3.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. We've got Kid Icarus, which is not great in my opinion. Star
It's
Trek,
good.
which I've-
Kid Icarus is good. Come on, it's alright.
Do you like it?
I like it. It's hard as nails, but it's a good game.
It's interesting.
Good music.
You know what on about the DS version, right? This is the NES one.
Yes, I know. Have you played it or not?
Yeah, of course I have. I even got this 3D classic, stupidly.
Yeah, me too.
No, it's good. I like it.
What about Star Trek? Did you play that on the NES Classic when it came out?
No, I've never played it. That's why I'm quite interested. I've seen a lot of talk online about it being really good. So
Yeah, I've heard it's really, really good.
I'm
but
looking
I've never
forward
played
to
it.
that. Yeah.
Japan got Fire Emblem.
That's the original.
That's the one that's never been released here, isn't it? What was that? Was that the remake that came out on that one never came out, but they remade it.
No, that
last
was. Wasn't that another one? Well, this is the
original
one.
one. Yeah, this is the first ever Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon.
Because the 3DS one was the second one, wasn't it?
Oh, was
If I
it?
remember
So this
right.
has never
It's
been.
remade.
That's never been released before.
It's probably never been translated either, to be honest. So I'm not surprised it's only
Yeah.
coming to Japan.
And Yi Kung Fu.
Yeah, why are we not getting that? I have fond memories of that in the Commodore 64.
On the Spectrum for me.
Yeah.
I didn't like colour. Loved it, yeah. So, but I've got the Japan. And have you got the Japanese NES app?
No.
Nope.
No, I can't
Get
get
on
it.
it. You're missing that weird fighting game that they released last month.
Oh, it's the one with
Wave.
Suckupon. Yeah. Mech.
It's
Yeah.
good. Greg, you going to play any of them? Or
Very, 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 very much doubt it.
you never know. You never know. In the most exciting news of each month for me, Mario Tennis update. So we've got Pauline. I'm sure everyone's unlocked Pauline and been her. Surprisingly, she's a speedy character. I wasn't anticipating that. Greg!
She's got the
unlocked
fastest acceleration of any of the characters, but she's got the worst knockback. That's what the little tagline of Pauline. The fastest.
why do you
She's
analyse
a bit
it?
top heavy for being fast, isn't she?
All right, don't get pervy. They've also announced 2 new characters, which is good. We kind of anticipated, but they've also announced some other guys. I can't remember. Dry Bones.
K-Mac.
Is he one of them? Look, hang on, just scrolling through the notes.
K-Mac and Dry
Dry
Bones.
Bones and Kamek. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Why are they not giving us new courts?
They don't have any.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good a reason as any. Another thing that they released, which is good, because we were worried they were just going to regurgitate the ones that they'd already given us, but they've given us a new co-op challenge, a brand new one, Shy Guy Train Tussle. Unfortunately, it's a swing one.
This is one of the games I'm going to talk about in my games, but I could talk about it here.
Well, considering we're probably not going to chat about them, I'd chat about it now instead.
It's the swing mode. When I complained about it extensively when I was talking about the Boo Hunt mode and saying it's broken. It still is broken, but you don't need so much reliance on accuracy as you do in the Boo one. So basically, this Shy Guy Train Tussle, the train pulls into the station, and you got 8 stages. So the stages are very short; they're like 30 seconds long each. and it's coin based, so you got to collect so many coins, just like the Boo ones. But the Boo levels, there were only 3 different stages. They went on for far too long. These are nice little short random stages. So there's 8 stages, and 2 of them, level 4 and level 8, are a huge Shy Guy boss. Apart from that, there are 6 other stages which are shuffled randomly, so you could just come to any level at any time. And there you've got to collect so many coins by hitting Shy Guys and hitting boxes with coins on it. But you can collect power-ups as well. So you get these power-ups, for example, like a mushroom, makes your big ball bigger, but you've got to press A to use it. You can get a bomb which bursts boxes open much faster. But by hitting certain number of Shy Guys, like 10 red Shy Guys, you'll open treasure chests as well, which will gain you even more gold coins. You've got to get 20,000 gold coins to unlock the 3 different coloured Shy Guys, but you can pick up about 3,000 on a playthrough. And even though it's still slightly balked, there's less reliance on the lob, which is very difficult to pull off. And with 4 of you whacking balls at those Shy Guys, you'll pretty much get through to at least the 6th level every time. I've had a lot of fun with this, much better than the other 2 modes.
Do you know I never played him, the ring shot? Was the ring shot mode not good?
It varied depending on who you were playing with. You really needed a skilled player to set up certain shots to allow the character of Yoshi, which was a colour, so say as a yellow Yoshi, to hit the ball through the yellow hoops. If you're playing with an unskilled character, they would hit it through with the wrong colour Yoshi, and it'd be very difficult to get what you wanted out of it.
So if you was playing with Greg, it'd be really rubbish.
Oh, it'd be terrible.
Okay, never played that one. Did that get added to the game as normal, like the Boo Hunt did?
No.
That is a shame.
It should do. It should do.
You excited about this, Nick? All this continuing updates of tennis? You a big fan of the game?
I am, but swing mode doesn't interest me at all, because like Lee said, it's pretty bad.
Try this one though, because it's very different from a normal swing mode. Like I said, there's less accuracy, more fun, to be honest.
Alright, I'll give it a try. Have you guys tried Pauline yet?
No. Played against her.
Yeah.
And what do you think of her?
She seemed alright. I've literally only played as her once.
She felt really sluggish to me for some reason. I wasn't keen on her.
For a speedy character, that's pretty bad going, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, that's what I thought. Speedy, but no, she felt a bit sluggish and slow for me. I'll
like
stick
a special
to Peach,
shot.
probably. Yeah, that's pretty cool. With the Mario Odyssey music playing.
Yeah, and the little
Jump Up
rising up on the building and
Superstar.
that. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Some weird news that came out. Nintendo did like a job calling for some new. Oh no! What was it? It's a job fair for like recruiting people leaving university.
Yeah.
And they released some stats. People who work for them. A few interesting things. So over 2,000 employees. Average age just under 40. A little bit under my age. Not happy about that. I'd top it up a little bit. Average length 13 and a half years. So that's some serious dedication. Like you work for Nintendo, you don't really leave. Average workday 7 hours 45. Really specific that. What is that? It's probably like 6 hours admin and then 20 hours if you work on Smash Brothers.
With an
salary,
IV drip.
80,000.
They give you a free IV drip if you're working on Smash Brothers.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Company perk. $80,000 average annual salary, so about £65,000. That's pretty good. Do you know what I mean? That's not bad. An average salary. Obviously, the kind of developers are going to get loads, but you got to presume even the kind of, I don't want to be derogatory, but even the kind of people who have kind of less skilled jobs, so to speak, probably could get a good whack. Either that or Miyamoto is on just insane amounts of money.
Yeah, but everything in Japan costs 3 times the price of everywhere else. So they need it.
It is expensive, isn't it? It is expensive.
Yeah.
Any of you guys tempted to try and work for Nintendo?
I might ask my uncle for a job.
I could give up the spar.
$80,000. Well, you think their running costs are what, 2,000 people over, and then 80,000 average salary.
How much
I should
is
have
that
worked this out
going to work
beforehand. I can't do it now, but that's a lot of money, each year. But Greg, you said that you may have a new job. It's not with Nintendo.
It's not. I don't want to tempt fate because I have to go for a second interview tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully. But it's not with Nintendo, no.
See how it goes.
It's with
You're gonna
Sony.
Sega.
Speaking of Sega, have any of you guys seen the what seems to be the new Sonic in the film?
Oh god, absolutely
I looked
horrendous.
At it first, it's like, ooh, what have they done? And then it's like, oh, it's not too bad, it could have been a lot worse.
What?
It
could have been worse.
It could be worse.
Yeah,
And it could be a hell of a lot better.
Seen what I was picturing in my head when I saw the silhouette, and it's like, it's okay. They messed his eyes up, but you get used to them, and Maybe I'm not a Sega fan and I don't really care.
Well, I'm not. I don't really care, and I'm not a Sega fan, but it looks shocking, like genuinely shocking. I'm gonna go see it though, definitely. Rocket League. They updated it, fixed Greg's problem. They've updated it again. It back up again. What are they doing? Nick, you have a weird relationship with Rocket League.
I have a terrible relationship with Rocket League.
I see you on it, and then you said you've deleted it forever. Then I see you playing it again, and I'm like, I thought you deleted it, and then
I deleted it at the beginning of February, and I haven't gone back to it yet. I'm still in Rocket League's Anonymous. So,
how many times have you deleted a game and re-downloaded it?
Only twice. This is the second time.
Okay.
Do you know why I deleted it? It's because of Hollow Knight. Because I was playing Rocket League when I should have been playing Hollow Knight. So I thought, right, I'll get rid of Rocket League and the temptation won't be there. And I finished Hollow Knight, so it worked. Now I'll re-download it and go back to it. No, because it was... I mean, I absolutely love Rocket League. It's one of my favourite games ever. But when you spend 6-7 hours a day playing it, when you could be playing something else, you know... I nearly got to Diamond. I've 650 hours and I've still not got to Diamond yet. I'm going to do it.
Wow.
Is that how many hours you put into it? 650?
Wait, Clown Ferret's paid FIFA 18 for longer, so I'm not sure.
Have you seen... Clown Ferret's put a few hundred hours into Rocket League.
He's put nearly 1,000 into FIFA, so I'm not ashamed.
He plays like he's played it for about 90 minutes.
No, I'm going to keep going. Obviously, I'll re-download it again when I've got a bit of space and try and get back up there. But I haven't played either of the new updates actually. So, is there any graphical updates? Does it perform better? Nothing really. No.
I tell you what has improved. I don't know what it was. Getting into games seems to be a lot quicker. Like matchmaking feels really.
Are you Switch only or are you cross console?
Cross console.
Because for me, it was always pretty fast getting into games.
Was it? There was a period where we were struggling to get into
games. There was a period a while ago, actually maybe 6 months ago when it took a while.
What I have done in the last few days is I've teamed up with a fella I used to work with. He's on Xbox, so I've teamed up with him. He gave me his ID, nice. So we hooked up.
Oh wow, is that working now? Yeah, I've not tried that yet.
Yeah, that
Good
came
stuff.
up in the...
I'll have to get it downloaded and try
it. A couple weeks ago. So yeah, worked absolutely fine. Flawless.
I'm trying to get my brother to buy it, so he's on PS4. So yeah, I can't wait to see if that works as well.
PS4 I don't think I don't think they are.
Yeah, they are now.
Are they really?
Yeah. The big Friends update that came 2 weeks ago now, Greg. They added the PS4 as well. Yeah, it's the second game on the Switch to include that full cross-play experience.
So Sony caved then, yeah?
That's 2 games now. Sony have caved on Fortnite and Rocket League. And very finally, Tetris 99, great game. We've chatted about this before. We kind of knew this was going to happen. Well, we knew it because Nintendo said it. But there's also a leak of all those new modes. But they've released their first tournament, and I think it surprised me. But it's quite a generous prize as well. So basically, the top 999 players get 999 gold coins, which I think is pretty generous for a free game and sort of free entry. What do you reckon the standard's going to be? The standard, obviously, it's really high anyway. How many wins do you think you'll need to get? Well, what's your prediction? How many wins do you think you'll need to get into the top 999?
999. Let's go for it.
Okay. So if I get 1 win, do you reckon I've got no chance of getting in?
I won't even get one.
No. I don't think I will, but I'm just saying.
To show you where my standard is, I have a question for you. What is a T-spin?
T-spin is when there's a gap. So say you got 2 lines, right? And then, when there's like a gap underneath the top line, which you can't quite access, but then there's a gap above it and say to the right. So basically what it is, where a shape can fit in theory, like if you could rotate it in and it can go through some blocks, but it can still fit into a gap. Uh-huh. So if you do that...
If you rotate it at the right time while it's dropping...
then it can go into the gap, even if you just press down, it would just stop. But if there's the space, it's difficult to explain.
I kind of get what you mean.
But you get what I mean? Rotating it in while it's dropping, so it kind of slides in at an angle. Yeah.
I know what it is, but I've never done it, and I can't do it. I've tried many times, and I'm like, no, can't do it. We've got no chance of winning.
Some people even set them up. It's crazy. Like they set up like just a line of T-spins. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Have you played this? I presume you have. Do you like it? Are you gonna go for this? Or
it's all right. It's intense. I like it, but it's too intense once you get down to the top 20. What's your best position, by the way? Mine's 3rd. It's not too bad, I think.
2nd or 3rd?
6th.
Oh, I'm in last place, but about 7th.
It's not a surprise, is it?
But
Let's be honest.
saying that, I got my 3rd place on launch day, and since launch day, I've barely scraped the top 20. It's absolutely ridiculous how good
the standard is
people are
bonkers,
already.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Really bonkers.
I've given up on
What's
it
your
completely.
worst
Go back to
score?
Rocket League.
There was one
99.
Oh, 99. I have a 98. There was one where it was just targeted by 8 people straight away. Blah, 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 blah. 98.
Yeah.
At least I didn't come last.
I think it's a great freebie. I reckon it's going to do them a lot of favours. Like, it's quite big, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they keep they're obviously going to keep these events and competitions going. So yeah, they'll keep the hype going as well. Great.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I wish they would. I just wish matchmaking was a little bit better, because it's daunting, you know. Especially if someone picked it up now and tried to play it. It's like, how do you penetrate that game at the minute? It's like, it's off-putting, isn't it? So I think it'd be, you know, they've got levels, like whatever level, and I'm level 10 or whatever, but it's like, it'd be better if you could be paired up with people who are at your level, so it feels a little bit easier to win, because it feels almost impossible.
It is.
Like, I feel like can't imagine ever doing it unless some kind of freak luck, but we'll see. But I still think it's an amazing thing, and I think this is a great tournament, so we'll see how it goes. Just a tiny little bit of news, actually, before we go.
Do you know why I put this news in? I put this news in because you were saying, any publisher that ever comes out and talks about the Switch is always talking about the positive sales. So I thought, okay, I'll drop this one in.
It's weird you should say that as a negative, because I actually think this is more positive than I anticipated.
It's more positive than it comes across as, definitely.
Yeah. So obviously the news is that Trials Rising's just come out and they've released the sales and it's sold worst on Switch. So there's a couple of things that's not surprising about that. One is because everybody who's reviewed it said, if you don't have to play on the Switch, don't play on the Switch. Graphically, it's pared back. It's like pretty terrible, to be honest. It's got a lower frame rate. It's obviously hasn't got the history of it either, as well as on the other consoles.
I think the main issue is that the triggers is the thing that puts people off from
that.
Yeah, and it hasn't got analog controls. So everyone's saying don't play on. It said it's fine on Switch, and if you wanted a portable version, it's good. It's sort of fine. If you can play on something else, do. So when it came out, it sold worst on Switch. It's like, no surprise. I bet it was abysmal. But then they released the actual breakdown, and it was basically 39 PS4, 33 Xbox, 28 Switch.
Yeah, so close.
And I was like, that sold a hell of a lot better than I expected it to.
And for a lower install base as well, you know, what were they expecting?
Yeah, I don't think that's too bad. I was interested in this, but the demo put me right off. Weirdly, because I'm fickle, I was kind of re-tempted again. Like, maybe if I give it a bit more time, then I kind of. Beautiful, because it's the kind of game that I should like. Don't know. Are any of you guys tempted by it, or if it comes in sale, maybe pick it up, or nope?
I was tempted by it. I picked up Ollie Ollie, and I'm loving playing that, just dropping in and out of Ollie Ollie. And then this kind of scratched that itch, and I thought, right, let's give it a try in the demo. And it's a bit. The controls are really, really finicky, and it should be a simple setup, but because he accelerates on ZR. It's either like it's not analog, it's digital, so it's either on or off, and the controls should be really, really nuanced. And like Nick was saying the other week when we were talking about Grid Autosport as well, is that he misses the analog stick for the accelerate on sport games, on car games. Now I haven't missed it much on car games, but for this, you can, if you upgrade, which I have to the top bike that's available in the demo, when you hit the accelerate, it's like too fast and you've got to lean into the bike. You can understand that. Otherwise, you flip backwards immediately. There's just absolutely no nuance in the control of the acceleration, and it's broken because of it. And you're constantly feathering and stopping. And if there was an analog shoulder button, it would play so much better. And that's the first game that I felt, it needs that analog.
I think you can use the GameCube controller if you have the adapter.
You can. It's been confirmed, yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can. Do you have one?
Yes, I do, but I don't have the multi-tap, but that could be a purchase. Yeah, it needs it. It definitely needs it.
But that's the last bit of news anyway. Next, we're going to go straight into the topic of the week. It's going to be a big one.
Stop there. Before we do, a quick roundup of our last week's transition music. And Greg and Nick both got it. So Greg mentioned the one the week before. Nick, what was our transition music last week? Do you remember?
No More Heroes.
It was No More Heroes from the original. Well done. And obviously we'll throw it out again. Transition music. Get in contact with me at lee@nintendoreview.co.uk. Our Twitter account @Nintendo_review. Our Facebook page, Nintendo Review, all one word. And you can join our Discord server from any of those.
Awesome, you can listen to it now. So the Switch is 2 years old, which feels kind of bonkers, really. What's weird is that the kind of console generations have changed. I'm going off on a tangent here, but like years ago, it used to be like 5 years was like a standard console generation. So this is like almost halfway through, but it feels like everything's stretched out. Like now, it still feels. I don't know if you feel the same. It still feels like we're at the beginning of the Switch's life cycle.
I agree.
Weird observation. So the Switch, we know what it is now, but a few years ago we didn't know what it was. After the disaster that was the Wii U, and then there was the rumour that Nintendo were releasing a new one. No one knew what it was. Can you remember those early days of all the rumours? And like what people were predicting it to be? It's sort of before there was a bit where it was sort of leaked it was going to be a hybrid, but even before that, when we had no idea it was. So it's difficult to kind of remember at what point did we know what information. But I remembered after the Wii U, we all met on a forum, on a gaming forum, right? Go to the original the Switch discussion and go look at the first few pages. Early on, I said I want it to be a hybrid. I want it to be a handheld console hybrid. Very early on. And then it's like, someone said it's going to be a hybrid, and I can remember a few people going, it's never going to be a hybrid. I'm not going to name names, and I'll just do the voice. It's never going to be a hybrid. But then it was. But how did you guys feel? I guess what's interesting is, like, especially you, start with you, Nick. Actually, how did you feel about the Wii U? Because I don't know how you felt about that. And what did you want it to be?
The Wii U was the first home console since the N64 that I didn't buy at launch. I got it about 2 years later after. I remember, because I actually stopped gaming completely for a while. And I remember sitting in my flat and I was watching E3 just out of chance. And it was the really, really good E3 that Nintendo had. When I think they showed Splatoon, and what else did they show? Hyrule Warriors maybe, and something else. And I was like, oh wow, I need to get this. So I got one. And I actually really enjoyed the Wii U. I had no problem with it. But when there was rumours, I had a 3DS as well, and when there was rumours about the hybrid, I thought it made a lot of sense. Because why have two consoles when you can have all your teams making games for one and just keep putting out good games? And the technology was already there, really, wasn't it? Like, you saw PSP, the last PSP, how good that was.
Vita,
yeah, the Vita, that's it. So I thought, I was excited for it. Like, I honestly had no firm idea what it would be, but the prospect of a hybrid excited me a lot.
So you didn't want like a beastly sort of Xbox One competitor?
I knew it wouldn't happen. That's not been Nintendo since the N64, so I knew that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. I was confident that wouldn't happen, yeah.
That's fair. So what about you, Greg? What did you want it to be, and how did you feel when the rumours that it looked like it was going to be a hybrid?
My feelings actually kind of stretch back to even before when the Wii U was like rumoured, back when it was like Project Cafe, because we'd obviously just came off the Wii with the motion controls, and then they started talking about the controller's got the 6-inch screen on it. These were all the rumours, and I sort of thought, I don't really want that. And then the Wii U came out, and like I enjoyed the Wii U. Like it obviously has its faults. And then we started getting there's talk of the NX, and the rumours started coming out, and they were talking about the Wii U was such a disaster. The talk was that the NX was going to have a 6-inch screen again or whatever. I thought, I can't believe they're going with this again after what's just happened. And then whenever you start thinking about it with the hybrid, and like even the things with like the detachable controllers and stuff, I thought this sounds really bizarre. Like how does this work? But obviously,
it's not like you to be negative.
But yeah, like the thought of a hybrid, like I was never that much of a handheld gamer growing up, but obviously with like the DS really got me into it, and then the 3DS was great as well. So the thought of like Nintendo just combining both like the home console and the handheld together, it seemed like a perfect idea, and like I can completely vouch for it now, because like I can't imagine fitting in as much gaming into my life right now as I do on the Switch, thanks to the way it's just handheld. It works perfectly.
Do you remember any of the early concepts and mock-ups and leaks? There was one that looked like an oval design, and it had a screen completely over the controllers as well, and it said that the controllers and maybe the touchscreen were going to be haptic force feedback, so you wouldn't actually need buttons because the haptic force feedback would give you the buttons. That looked cool, but completely out of a different planet.
I absolutely hated that. Really? I thought it looked terrible. Yeah, it was those guys in Sweden, wasn't it? I remember seeing that on Neo.
Can you remember because somebody noticed the trees and the reflection, and they thinking it was a studio, and it's like, oh my god.
Oh no, the Nintendo fans are crazy.
Thirsty people were.
Yeah. But like, I think I actually got to the point with that that concept that I sort of convinced myself that maybe it's a good idea. But now looking back on it, it's like, yeah, an oval screen, maybe not.
And it wasn't ergonomic, was it?
It was awful, awful.
I liked the idea of the screen going around the buttons.
Yeah, that was cool.
Visually, it's interesting, but kind of pointless completely. But I was like, it's kind of a nice idea. But yeah, I'm glad it's not that. And then I guess, kind of just jumping out with all those rumours, and even up until the moment that they officially released that, they did that trailer, and was it like September or like autumn time? People were still debating, is it going to be a powerful machine? Is it going to be a hybrid? What is? People still didn't know, which is kind of good for Nintendo. And then they just said, right, we're going to unveil it, and they released the trailer. And I remember seeing the title of the video first. Because if you remember, it wasn't like a live stream, they just plonked a video on. And I remember just waiting, obviously we're all kind of Nintendo geeks, I can remember like waiting on YouTube, and the video dropping, and it said, Nintendo Switch reveal, or whatever the video was called. And I was like, Switch? What? And then the video happened, and it was like completely sold. But how did you guys sort of feel about that, when you watched that video, and the name, and the video itself? How did you feel about that, Nick?
I think it was one of the best pieces of marketing Nintendo have ever done. It was so good. What was it? Was it 3 minutes?
Yeah.
And they completely sold me on the idea of it and how everything worked. I had absolutely no questions after I watched it. We saw Zelda, we saw Mario, we saw those guys playing Mario Kart in the back of the car, and those guys playing basketball at the basketball court instead of real basketball. It just worked. Everything was perfect about it. The controllers, like you could use a real controller or you could use the Joy-Cons. You could put it in the dock and it would instantly come on the TV. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And the music was good as well.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it about 15 times.
Yeah.
I've got
the music in my head right now.
Uh-huh.
Imagine Dragons, wasn't it?
No, I don't think. Was it really? No,
it was
no, it wasn't Imagine Dragons. I don't think so.
From the moment we met.
Was it not Imagine Dragons?
I don't know.
No, they don't.
Believe?
No,
they don't.
Was it?
No, that was a different.
It didn't sound like Imagine Dragons. It sounded good, for example.
So how are you about it then, Greg? Was you giddy with excitement?
I actually wasn't convinced straight away either. I kind of find myself with that, like pretty much every Nintendo console, even before the Wii came out. Like I was thinking, I don't really want the Wii, and then as it came closer to launch, then the excitement started to build, and I did get one on launch. The reveal event. Not the event, the trailer that they just dropped. It was a weird day for me because I remember the night before, I assume it wasn't anything to do with excitement or something, but like I was like extremely ill. So I had that whole day off from work, and I just remember lying in bed pretty much the whole day, just feeling like hurling the whole day. And my wife had to go out, so like I was sitting with her laptop on the bed, just kept looking at the clock, waiting for the reveal, and just before it started, there was an issue with the laptop, so I didn't get to watch it straight away. I had to wait for a wee second. So, like you, I seen the name and stuff before it started, and I must have watched it about 1 million times as well. Obviously, the music was really cool and stuff, but like the general design of it,
Dragons.
It definitely wasn't. But initially, it didn't look that impressive to me. I didn't really
what about it? The hardware or the games?
I actually think like they showed it with like the wee grey Joy-Cons attached to the side stuff, and it didn't look that appealing to me. And even like when I see the grey ones now, they still don't look that interesting to me. Like it just looks a bit bland or something.
What point was it then that got you excited about it? Or not until you bought it? Not until you played it?
Yeah, it must have been near launch probably.
Wow. Lee, was you more excited than Greg?
I was sold instantly, yeah. And you're left with a few questions like, oh, surely it can't be that quick. You slide it into the dock and boop, it's on the screen. That's a mock-up or whatever. But no, it's pretty much, instantaneous as we now know. And little concerns of, oh, those Joy-Cons look small. My manly hands but playing with the Joy-Cons, all been fine. All been fine. All my little niggles were drowned out in ecstasy of watching this thing in action and thinking, my God, I'm going to be playing Breath of the Wild on that thing in handheld. Amazing.
That was another thing, actually, wasn't it? That Breath of the Wild was completely tied in with the Switch and the Switch's reveal, kind of being sort of delayed on the Wii U numerous times, and then we all kind of knew it was going to be for the next one. Then it was revealed that it was definitely for the next one. There was the big E3 showing before this. How excited? How much was Zelda part of the kind of hype for the new console as well, or how was you feeling about that, Nick?
It was everything. The new console was Zelda.
Well, that's true. That literally is.
Obviously I would have played it on the Wii U, but the fact that you could play it on the new console, there was no way I wasn't going to buy it on the first day. So E3 trailer was good. That was the first time we really saw it, wasn't it? I guess. Yeah. I know that Miyamoto and Aonuma did that kind of weird walkthrough one time when they were sat in a room discussing it and like walking around. But what was it? E3 was the first real trailer, wasn't it? Or not?
I think they showed the trailer with like the blue in the Guardian Games Awards. I think on the.
Oh, was it Game Awards?
I thought they did. Where Link jumped off his horse and he's wearing the blue tunic, and everyone who were like, "Oh, is it a girl's?"
Yes, yeah. That was the very, very first one. But this was the first one with like actual gameplay and stuff.
Yeah, and then this.
It was good. And I must have watched about 15, 20, 30 hours of analysis of it on YouTube as well. There's a really good video by some German guy. I can't remember what it's called, about the music in that trailer. And if you've not watched it, I recommend it. It's really interesting with English subtitles. But yeah, Zelda was the only reason. Like, the console I was interested in, of course, and I was like, what's that new Mario game? But Zelda was why I was really, really interested in it.
So Greg, you weren't excited about the console itself. Was you excited about Zelda?
Yes. I think the fact that it was coming out... I think that the fact that it was coming out to Wii U as well sort of meant that the console was slightly less exciting at that point, because that was the game that everybody was looking towards. And to be honest, it actually came out just at the perfect time for me, because obviously there'd been a big lull in releases for the Wii U and stuff. Everybody was just waiting for the Switch at that point. It was one of those games where you just needed to sit down and just relax and let yourself get absorbed in it and go explore and not be worrying about your backlog, or you've got hundreds of other games at launch that you want to play as well. It was just like just sit down, play Zelda, and just just get absorbed. And it was brilliant. I mean, I look back on Zelda now, I loved it, but it's maybe not my favourite Zelda for a variety of reasons, but at the time it felt like the game that I sort of needed, the game I deserved.
And what about you, Lee? What were you more excited about, the hardware itself or Zelda?
Everything. I mean, even the games like Skyrim, which I still need to play. I picked that up quite early, but you saw the actual, not the motion control bits of it and all that, but they showed Skyrim and the dragon landing and all that, and on the initial reveal trailer as well. And it's just that promise of these huge 3D open worlds in handheld, just a console that can, and a handheld console that can and is capable of doing that effectively, and just everything. Yeah, both the games and Zelda lived up to its promise, which is wonderful.
Do you know Zelda has not been out of the top 20 in Japan since launch?
Amazing.
Yeah, I saw that today. Yeah, crazy.
That is
not surprising, but crazy.
Staggering. Amazing. It's an amazing achievement. So when we finally got the Switch, I guess we all got it day one.
I got it day -1.
I got a day +1.
I got, because it came out on March the 3rd. I got mine on March the 2nd. I put up, not like a pre-order, but there's a store up here and blah blah blah. And I said, I'm a blogger, blah blah whatever, in Taiwan. I said, look, I just set aside one of the Switches. I'll be up on the March the 3rd to pick it up. And they actually phoned me on the 2nd then, which was a Friday, I believe. Did it come out on a Saturday? Was it? Do you remember when you picked it up?
It was Friday.
Friday.
Came out on a Friday.
There was a Thursday I went up. He phoned me up and said, look, we've got one. It's the grey Joy-Cons. Do you want it? Yep, hold it. I'm there. And 20-minute run up to the shop. And I was as happy as Larry. Except you couldn't do anything much the day before because you needed to...
the update.
You needed the update. So, yeah. You get to play with the Joy-Cons and all that a day early, but you couldn't do everything that needed to be done.
And what were your first impressions of it? Maybe not that day, but when you could do the update and you got into it and you're playing Zelda. And did you get any other games?
I'm trying to think now. Snipper Clips got downloaded off the eShop relatively early, but physically it was only Zelda at that time. Yeah. And I just thought, what a solid piece of kit. The way the Joy-Cons slide on. There was always little worries about, are they going to slide off? Is it going to hold hard enough and all that? Especially when you're in handheld, you don't want any movement in the Joy-Cons. Just how solid it was, and you're always concerned that you see people with the heating of the back and all that. Oh my god, have I got a dodgy one or whatever? But just general solid Nintendo build quality and wonderful.
So elegant compared to the Wii U gamepad.
After the Wii U,
Such a step up.
And the
every
weight,
time you go back to the Wii U now, it's...
Well, what do you think about the weight of the unit itself? It's just right, isn't it? You know, it's not too heavy, not too light. It feels like a quality product. You know, your initial kind of
thing. Sounds like a fairy tale.
It's not a Fisher-Price toy, is it?
Well, you say it's solid. My Joy-Cons jiggle a little bit on it. There's a bit of movement.
So do mine. Yeah.
Here you go.
You can fix that. You can fix it. Apparently, you can fix it.
Annoys me. I always think I'm going to snap it off. But was you equally as excited as Lee, Nick, when you got your Switch?
Yeah, I was very excited. Obviously, I took the weekend off work and went to Game of all places in Bolton on Thursday night after work.
A place to be.
A place to be. To be fair to Game in Bolton, there was about 70 people there, which I was surprised at. They sold out. Took it home and played Zelda for 35 hours over the next 3 days.
Bloody hell.
Dedicated.
Yeah. And it was worth it. Yeah. On launch I got Zelda. For some stupid reason I got 1-2 Switch as well, thinking it would be like Wii Sports. I played it twice. Absolutely terrible game. I think I got Snipper Clips as well, but I might have got that later. I didn't really enjoy that, to be honest. Blaster Master Zero and F-Zero. Not F-Zero. What's it called? Fast RMX.
Oh, you got Fast? Oh, okay.
So, yeah, Fast RMX and Blaster Master, great games, and were perfectly acceptable between Zelda play sessions. Finished both of them, enjoyed both of them.
Yeah, and you got Bomber. So was that before you moved to Russia then?
Yeah, I was in England with the Switch. I was in England for about 6 months.
Okay.
And then I moved to Russia. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. So what about you, Greg? You weren't too impressed when you got it, were you?
My launch experience kind of almost goes back to everybody's excitement leading up to Switchmas, as it was kind of called, which was the January presentation where they obviously remember Kazumi shaking the Joy-Con with the ice cubes and stuff.
Yeah.
That was the first time we seen the neon red and blue Joy-Cons, and immediately as soon as I saw those, I thought, for some reason the console looked way more fun just because of that change. It's like, this is so weird to see a console with 2 different colours on either side and stuff. But it worked for me. It totally gave away the impression that the console was trying to give, where it's you have this unit, you can play it handheld, but there's controllers you can take off for one for each player, different colours. So it really highlighted what the console was all about. But then my launch experience came, and not long after that presentation, I pre-ordered from Game online, got a really good deal with Zelda, and I think it must have been about £20 cheaper than it was anywhere else. So I had it ordered and all, and then I can't remember if I got an email the night before or if it just didn't come on the Friday, but it wasn't there on the Friday. So I think I got an email either that day or the night before saying that I wouldn't be getting it until Monday. And at that point, I was crushed because I just wanted to play Zelda. And then so I was at work on the Saturday afternoon to late night, and my wife said, I think your Switch has arrived. So I was I was excited. So I had that whole shift at work just waiting to get home to play the Switch. But by the time I got home, it was nearly midnight, and my wife, she was up at my mum and dad's house for a bit, so I had to go and pick them up to bring them home. So but on my way to get her, I just dropped by my house to pick up the parcel to take it up to their house, just so I could open the parcel just to see what it was like. And immediately when I opened the box and sort of carefully take it out as you do, I had an idea in my head what the Joy-Cons were going to be like. And whenever I first touched it, I thought, you know what, this might be a wee bit cheap and flimsy feeling, the Joy-Con, because the analog stick was really they're obviously a lot smaller and stuff than normal, but those feelings for it immediately melted away as soon as I got to play Zelda the next day. The controller, even now, it's probably one of my favourite controllers ever. It feels really good to me. I'm just so used to it, and I love it.
The longest day ever.
Well, I did say playing it the next day. I had work that next morning as well, so it wasn't until till the Sunday evening that I really got a chance to play the Switch. It's heartbreaking.
How about you, Darren? What are your launch experiences?
I can't even remember it, if I'm going to be honest. I can't remember. I would have definitely taken the day off or taken the weekend. I don't wait the weekend, but I'd have definitely taken time off. But I can't really remember like getting it or anything like that. That's really bad, isn't it? I don't even know where I got it from. I'm turning 40 and I was like, I have no idea what's going on with my life. All I remember is thinking it was like absolutely loving it and just kind of like destroying Zelda, and also slightly regretting getting 1-2 Switch like Nick as well. But it's more, I guess, for me that in terms of the Switch, like thinking about the past 2 years, it's more like what happened after that. It ultimately was amazing. I love the content. I'm a bit, I love the Wii U. I think if you get the 10 best games on the Wii U, there are 10 amazing games that will compete with probably most generations. So I'm easy to please. So I loved it, and Zelda, I think, is probably my greatest game of all time. Still probably too early to say, but then it was more after that. It was more, especially that first year, the release of games where it's like almost every month. It's like every 6 weeks there's like a big game coming out, and a mix of Mario Kart and Splatoon and games I've had, but even like ARMS, which I loved. And I think ARMS is a great game. And it was more that, and then the hybrid nature of it. Like in practice, it sounded great. It kind of makes a lot of sense. I had a 3DS, I had this, the idea of everything being on one, it was great. But then having it in practice and being like, I can play this on my telly, I can go downstairs, take it with me, keep playing it. I can, and the realization of that mixed with these deluge of games every month was just like, oh boy, this is something special. And although the second year wasn't as good, it was still, ultimately, that's my feeling of it. Like, this is almost Nintendo's perfect console for what they do. But for me personally, it's pretty much the perfect console for me, because I loved handheld gaming, I loved home console gaming, and now we're getting both. And that was one of my worries actually with the Switch was, are we still going to get the kind of the 3DS type games, the handheld type games, or alternatively, are we going to get the big games? Like, is it going to be one or the other, where we're not going to get like the 2D Zeldas? Are we just going to get big Zeldas? Are we going to get those games? And it's panning out, and it's looking like we're actually getting everything. We're getting all the handheld stuff that we loved. We're getting all the big games that we loved. We're going to get a Luigi's Mansion 3, and maybe it's not going to be a handheld compromised version like we got with the 3DS, which I loved, by the way, but it was obviously geared towards handheld play, the structure of it and stuff. So it feels like genuinely the best of both worlds, and that's amazing.
Here's a question for you. How much do you game docked and handheld, do you reckon, in general? Because I'm 100% docked.
Wow.
I almost never play handheld, yeah. So what about you boys?
80-20 docked handheld.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'd say I'm 50-50. It's quite close.
Really?
Yeah. There are times, and there are specific types of games as well. I think, no, this feels right in handheld. I'm playing Wargroove a lot at the moment, and that feels right in handheld. I actually put a lot of time in. If I'm thinking about Hollow Knight as well, that's about 50-50. Sometimes when I put it on the TV, sometimes I'm in handheld. For example, the headphones as well. Putting it in handheld and listening through headphones far better than the stereo system I've got linked up to my TV. I'm enjoying handheld as well, just as much as docked.
In some ways, I feel a wee bit jealous of you boys, because I would say probably about 80 to 90% of my time is handheld.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
But that sort of like highlights the advantage of the Switch as well, because like I dread to think how little I would have been able to play anything if I didn't have that opportunity just to play it in handheld mode, because I rarely get the TV down in the living room.
That is crazy. So mainly, I didn't know that. I didn't realise that. But it kind of shows how amazing it is.
Yep.
How often do you take it out of the house? Because obviously I never take it out of the house. Sometimes into the kitchen to make a cup of coffee. That's about it.
If I'm popping over my mother-in-law's, it goes with me every time, because there's my son's cousin, my nephew's over there, and we can just pop it on a table and we can just huddle around the screen and we can have a game of Smash Brothers or whatever with the I take all my controllers across as well. I got a nice handy size bag to stick everything in, so I take mine out quite often.
Tabletop mode, nice.
Not loads. I have a commute to work, but it's about 20 minutes. I don't take the Switch to that, but I've been working away for the past few weeks, and I take my Switch there, obviously going on holiday and stuff like that, and that's been amazing. That's probably, it used to be probably, it's probably 90-10 docked, but the past few weeks is probably, I've played it so much kind of out, in hotel rooms and on trains and stuff like that, and it's been amazing. Greg's
always handheld.
I probably used to take it out more than I do at the moment. Like there was times like my wife would go to like mums and tots with my son Jacob, and like she doesn't drive, so I would be taking them to it. So they'd be in there for maybe about an hour and a half or so, and like instead of me like going around the town or
joining
for
them
that time, like yeah, it's not really my scene. Like
playing with your kids.
Just watching people having fun, like it's not it's not me. But yeah, so quite often I would just maybe sit in the car for an hour and a half, and that'll be my time just to like, I'm by myself, I can just sit there and like play something for an hour or so, just get stuck in. So it worked really well for me, and like getting the Switch Messenger bag was like a game changer for me, because it's just like so easy just to slip it in and take some games with you or whatever. Perfect.
So over the past 2 years, the first 2 years, obviously we did our top 10s of last year at Christmas and that, but just generally, like, there were a couple of highlights. Obviously, Nick, you mentioned Rocket League, so that's obviously a highlight for you. Did you know anything about Rocket League before you played it, or was that the first time on the Switch? Or
I had heard about it, and I also had it on Steam, but my laptop's not a really gaming laptop, so I'd played about 10 hours, and I'd enjoyed it, but I had no idea really what Rocket League was all about until I'd played it for about 200 hours on the Switch.
And then it clicked.
and then it clicked, and I was like, all right, so this is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Started subscribing to Rocket League players on YouTube. That was a big mistake. And I'm just trying to rid myself of it now a little bit.
Yeah.
But okay, highlights for me. Hyperbole time, Dazzy.
Bring it on, I love it.
Time. Best console of all time.
Really?
For me, yeah. Because I just played it so much. Best Zelda game of all time.
With you?
And that's it.
Mario?
No, Sunshine was better.
Oh!
Alright, I'm joking. No, Odyssey was good. I didn't actually really play Galaxy that much. I enjoyed 3D World. I prefer 3D World. Okay, I prefer 3D World to Odyssey.
Oh
honestly.
God, you like these two?
It's just more my kind of game. But I have written a few notes here. So for me, obviously, Nintendo have been absolutely killing it with Zelda, Mario, Splatoon 2, another game I've put almost 200 hours into. But for me, the biggest thing has been indie games. I've absolutely loved some of the indie games. And I've written some down. I've got Stardew Valley, which I had played before on PC. Great game. Enter the Gungeon, one of my favourite games on the Switch. Hollow Knight, which we'll talk about later. Celeste, which was one of my top 10 games of last year.
Yeah.
Golf Story, which I know some of us liked, and some of us got a bit bored with it towards the end. Fast RMX, Sonic Mania, Blaster Master, and I've written a list of all the games that I've bought and haven't even played yet, because I got them. So I've got Bloodstained. Anybody played that?
I finished it, yeah.
You finished it?
Very good.
Sorry, Dazzy. Into the Breach. I know you enjoyed that as well.
Amazing.
Haven't started it either.
I need to get back to
You've
that.
not even started it?
I've not started it. It's
You'll
been sat
love
on
it.
my
You're in
Switch
for a
a couple of
treat.
months. Bomb Chicken, Hyperlight Drifter, Floor Kids, Bastion, and Mighty Gunvolt Verse. I've got all of them on my Switch, not played them once, just because
There's
there's so much to play.
Great games there.
Yeah.
You've got some.
And then
Bomb
obviously, I've heard that's good as well.
It's
But I mean,
amazing.
I got all these on discount, and that's the thing as well. The pricing's been so good on the Switch as well.
Yeah,
I've picked
yeah.
all of these up for less than a tenner. So, well, individually for less than a tenner. Doom, really enjoyed that. Couldn't believe it was on a Nintendo system again. Skyrim, Civilization 6. Some good third-party games. Absolutely no complaints from me. Nintendo have knocked it out of the park, first party and third party at indies. So I'm very, very happy. I've got no problem saying best console I've ever owned.
How many games do you own? You sound like you own quite a lot.
70.
70.
Not as many as you, but yeah.
It's a lot, but it's mad, isn't it? That's the thing. It's
It's crazy, yeah. Yeah.
2 years in,
It's
70
too many,
games.
really. Yeah.
So you probably pleased Greg that he doesn't like Odyssey.
Odyssey's fantastic.
I know, I'm only kidding.
I mean, it's not as good as 3D Land, but it's good.
3D Land.
3D World.
Yep.
Both.
I actually think I like 3D Land more than 3D World, although it's pretty close.
Wow, craziness, absolute craziness. So, what a couple of highlights for you? I think indies is one thing that you don't agree on. I think me, Nick, and Lee clearly have played and bought a lot of indies. You're not so much, are you?
I've always been a little bit cautious with indie games because generally I always find, like, with obviously on the Wii and stuff, we had the Virtual Console, and the appeal of playing those older games was always much stronger to me than playing these new games that maybe obviously, like they're cheaper. They're maybe only one or two people, and there's always just something about them that just didn't seem like they were as good a quality to me as all these older games that we grew up with, like Nintendo made. But like obviously that's a wrong assumption, and on many occasions, and there's
as long as you realise that, that's all right.
I mean, I still do get that. Like, I still will look at some games and I just think, I can't really be bothered with that. It's maybe not really for me. But I definitely have found myself picking up a few more indie games on Switch than I have on previous consoles. And like Nick says about how much time he's put into Rocket League, I've mentioned it before. That's one game that I didn't think I would actually like. I wasn't even going to get it till Darren and the late great Jonathan Stanley they both convinced me to pick it up, and after a couple of games, like you sort of knew what it was all about. But like, I can't believe the skill ceiling in that game. I've played it for 250 hours or something, and it's like you're putting that amount of time into something and you're still so far away from being like right at the top, because some of the things the players can do is just, it's crazy. And like I know I'll never get to that sort of level, but it's just like whenever you play people of a similar level to yourself, it's such a great feeling. So that's definitely one of my Switch highlights, and probably the biggest surprise of the Switch so far. But yeah, also like the third party support has been like becoming increasingly better over the last year or so. Like obviously there's things like Doom, which I was obviously out in the PS4, which I had, and I never bought Doom on the PS4. I was never interested in playing Doom for the PS4, but for some reason it came to the Switch, and it's like, yeah, I'd quite like to play that. But I don't know what it is about, just because it's on a Nintendo console, it's just for some reason it's instantly more appealing. But the fact that you could play that in handheld is it's crazy. Great console. I would say it probably is my favorite like console hardware wise, like absolutely. But obviously the games, it'll take a few more years of quality games to reach the heights of the Nintendo 64.
Need a wave race first.
If it doesn't have a wave race, yeah.
It does need a wave race.
Never be...
The N64 is not, you're winding me up, but that's not your best favourite console, is it?
Let me run. Let me just turn around and run you through a few games. So you just go Diddy Kong Racing,
Wetrix,
F-Zero, X, Lilac Wars, Snowboard Kids, GoldenEye, Wave Race 64, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64.
Can't disagree.
Ocarina of
Can't
Time.
disagree.
Pilot Wing 64, 1080, Banjo-Kazooie, Smash Bros, Ridge Racer, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Excite Bike, Mario Party, Perfect Dark, ISS 98, Tony Hawk's Pro Skateboarding, Top Gear Rally,
Greg, you may as well
Conker's
stop.
Bad Fur Day,
Darren's not smiling.
The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of
Time.
No, you know.
I have all these games. I love the N64.
Yeah,
good games.
Great games still.
Good games.
Holds up.
They were good games in the 90s.
They were.
But you think that the Switch could easily surpass it?
I wouldn't say easily, because like obviously nostalgia plays a big factor. Like growing up, like that's the best time of your life, isn't it? Pretty much. And everything is just like so much better than it's. But like, just we all grew up in just what felt like such an amazing time, going from like 2D games into 3D games, and it's just like such a game changer at the time, and we're never going to experience that again.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what, you say that, and I think that's a really good point. I remember seeing Mario 64 for the first time and being like, what the is that? And then like it like blew my mind, like genuinely blew my mind. Like, oh my god, it was incredible. And I felt as if I'd never get any sensation like that again. I will genuinely say moments in Breath of the Wild blew me away, more than its game design and things like that, blew me away like that did. In some regards, Wii Sports, maybe, some Wii games made me feel like, wow, this is kind of, something else. But Breath of the Wild was the first time I was like, that's how I felt when I saw Mario 64.
For me, obviously, like, whenever I first got the 3DS, for example, and was able to see that glasses-free 3D just like right in my face, like that was a cool moment for me. But I think like the next step for me, you've obviously experienced like PlayStation VR. For me, like that, I've never played anything like that before. I think jumping into like the virtual reality space really would be like the next sort of like wow moment for me, and presumably that's going to come at some point. Obviously, we go through phases like
Labo VR.
I don't know when that Nintendo's really going to jump on that there, because obviously like they bring these things out. Like 3D was a big thing like years and years ago, and then it sort of went away, and then they started bringing it back, and then the 3DS was a thing, and like virtual reality sort of has these wee phases as well, and it's like there's going to be some point where it's like, right, this is like legitimately like the next step sort of thing.
Every game needs to include it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think VR will ever be that. I think VR will always be very specific sort of games and films and pieces, rather than it being an all-encompassing, everything will work in VR. I just don't think it's the format for it. But saying that, I love VR. I think VR is amazing. Yep. And you get the right experience in it. It's incredible. But I don't think there'll ever be every game.
I think it's the sort of thing where it's like the headset and like restricting yourself from like you're sort of like playing by yourself. Everybody else is just like they're not there. I think the key is to somehow bring it to become a more social thing where it's like you're not putting this headset on. It's maybe even just like a pair of glasses. You can still
definitely AR.
Yeah.
That's the next big thing. Is the AR. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what the future is. Yeah, VR, which is a good point. That there's some genuinely like mind-boggling moments in VR. Have we spoke to you about your any standout
Are we going to
moments?
talk about later? Are we going to talk about disappointments? Okay, I'll leave that
What
later. So
disappointment?
apart from the kind of first party games like Mario Kart, blah blah blah, all those, wonderful. It is games like Enter the Gungeon. It's been mind blowing, that game. You know, I love my top down shooters, and then that is like for me the pinnacle of top down shooters as well. Minecraft, just having that on the TV and then on handheld, and seeing my son get the most out of it as well. Minecraft has been excellent on there. And third-party games you haven't mentioned yet. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, that has been exceptional. SteamWorld Dig 2, I know you didn't like it so much, Darren, but Thimbleweed Park is worth a mention. Tiny Barbarian, I'll go on about that game until I die. Very simple 2D platformer, but exceptional in its execution. Wolverblade, another 2D scrolling beat 'em up, and these were in all these games I'm talking about, they came in 2017, really early on in the Switch's life cycle. What a start to opening the Switch up. And then numerous games after, like Doom. I even enjoyed Rive. And then like Nick, I got quite a few games that I haven't even started and need to start, like Outlast, Pixel Junk Warriors 2. I'm looking forward to that. I'm always going, that'll be the next game I start, and then Hollow Knight came along and whatever. But yeah, there's quite a few games I haven't. And then erroneously I said a couple of weeks back that I got over 100 games. That did include demos. Now I've deleted the demos. I'm down to 95.
95 games, crazy. But you kind of mentioned it there, disappointments. And before we look about what we want to come, Nick, what is the most disappointing aspect of this? Maybe we'll all say one negative thing or one thing we wanted to improve on or something like that. What's the one thing for you, Nick?
Analog triggers, please. That's literally my only request. Analog triggers.
You ain't getting it.
Get a GameCube controller.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing. Like, do you have an adapter?
And I can't get one here either. It's very difficult to get one here, so I might have to wait till I go back to England.
That website I use, Nick, base.com, they ship worldwide, and their shipping is really, really cheap. They charge like £1.50 to ship into Taiwan, and there's no custom charges because whatever you're buying is under £40 or whatever. They are bloody good.
Well, it's the Russian post that I'm worried about more than anything.
Okay.
I sent a postcard from England. I sent a postcard to Russia once, and it arrived 4 months later. It's pretty. It's pretty standard for Russia, to be honest. But I don't know. Like seriously, yes, I would like analog triggers. It's not that big of a deal unless you're playing racing games or Trials, for example. But I guess. I mean, I've not really been disappointed with anything. Even the online, really. Because I didn't expect that much. It's actually better than I expected in some ways. I think for me the biggest disappointment was Labo, probably. I mean, I picked up the third Toy-Con box pretty cheap. Building it was fine. I wish it would be better obviously if I had like kids or nephews or nieces to build it with. But the games just were awful. Like not interesting at all. It wasn't that great. Like the building it was good, but the games didn't interest me whatsoever. They felt a bit shallow and a bit dull. So I kind of given up on that a bit.
So that's your biggest disappointment?
That's compared to everything else, that's nothing really. Really, I've not been disappointed at all with the Switch. It's been fantastic. I've absolutely loved every moment of it.
Could Labo VR get you back interested in Labo?
Not with that screen. I have played VR on a phone, on the Samsung VR, and you need a high-res screen because I was feeling sick after about 30 seconds. Yeah,
even on that, and that's a lot higher resolution than the Switch, and even that you can see the
it
pixels
was
quite
awful.
big.
Never again. I'm only going to do it like if it's full, expensive kit, professional, probably.
That's fair enough. What about you, Greg? What are your? I mean, pick one of your many disappointments with the Switch.
Kind of like Nick, like the online's been absolutely fine for me, and I probably kind of share a wee bit of the disappointment with Labo, even though I haven't actually built one myself. But I think the fact is that I know that it's such a cool concept and stuff, and if my son was older and been able to teach him these things by like building stuff together and then being able to play a cool game at the end of it, like it's such a cool idea. It's just I know I wouldn't get much use of it by myself. Honestly, like it's really hard for me to pick out disappointments with the Switch because you just like you're hit with games like every week. There used to be times when like you wouldn't know like you're getting another game on a Nintendo system for maybe like another 3 or 4 weeks or even like 3 or 4 months or something, and so you're just waiting there patiently for it. Now there's games that you don't even know exist, and then like 2 weeks later, bang, they're on your system there. You didn't even know they were coming. So that's amazing. My biggest disappointment is probably Shovel Knight.
That's a shocker.
It's ridiculous.
Take it back.
I wish I could take it back.
Ridiculous.
You should have waited for the physical.
What about you, Lee? What's your one disappointment or your biggest, whatever?
It's to do with the hardware more than anything else. It's the motion controls. Now, I'm not on about motion controls as in like in arms and all that, where you punch in. It's perfect. So that kind of motion-based gestures are fine. It's when you need that kind of fine-tuning aiming thing that the Wii U and the Wii did so well, because you had the infrared sensor reading your precise
pointer. You mean pointer
controls. There are games like the one that springs to mind, and there are other ones, but is World of Goo. When you need that pointer control on World of Goo, the amount of drift that happens just because you're relying on the pointer controls through gyro, it's insane. You're constantly pressing the recalibrate button every time you select one of those little goo things and flick it to the right or wherever you need to throw it. You're then having to recenter the controller and press the recalibration button every time. So games that like shooting games or first-person shooters, and I can't think of one. Doom seems to do it well. They get around that kind of issue by using the C stick at the same time. The C stick, I'm talking about the GameCube controller, the right analog stick at the same time. So Splatoon does it well. It's just that fine tuning where you got a single screen like in World of Goo. It doesn't work.
Toad as well.
Yeah, Captain Toad. Yeah, you constantly find that drift happening, which is such a shame. I thought they would have fixed it. We've gone through that generation of Wii U as well with the gyro controls. I thought it would have been better than it is.
That's fair enough. For me, there's a big disappointment. In all seriousness, probably the lack of folders is really up there. It's been really disappointing. Quite controversially, one of my biggest disappointments, and what I'll go with, is Nintendo first-party games. And I don't mean what they've released, I think it's amazing. It's a combination of, I think I expected a little bit more than we've been given. And I don't mean, ultimately I don't care. I've got 100-odd games on the Switch and I love it, and like you guys, it's probably going to be the best console I've ever owned when all's said and done. But there's been a lot of Wii U ports. I don't mind, I'm not criticising them for this, but there has been a lot of Wii U ports. So I've played a lot of the first-party games that have been released on the Switch already, on the Wii U. And other than the first year, I actually think last year was really, if you look at what they released first party on the Switch, there was probably 6 new games, and that includes Labo, Mario Party, in Mario Tennis. That includes Smash Brothers, which I don't think it's a port, but it's not that dissimilar to the Wii U version. They didn't release that many games last year that weren't ports, like new games. And this year, the first 6 months of this year, they're probably going to release Yoshi. Is there anything else?
Mario in January.
Yeah, but that's a port. I mean, about new games. I'm about
completely new games. Yeah, it's Yoshi.
So like new, other than the first year, like this last year and this year, they've probably released about 7 new first-party games. So I expected, because one of the exciting things was the merging of handheld and the home console. We thought we're going to get loads of games. I just expected a little bit more. I'm not bothered. I want to say that I'm not that bothered, but I expected more.
Well, I think don't you think though that if we look at the end of the Wii U when they weren't doing anything, they were obviously working on Zelda, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon, and all these games, and I think maybe the same things happen now where we've had this massive bombardment of games at the start of Switch's life, and then now it's just the lull again before we get bombarded again over the next year and a half. Or do you think that's not acceptable?
There have been big, expansive, 6 months, 4 months, no game, and then one game will come out, and then another 4 months, no game. I was looking back as well, going through that 2018, and it is rather barren, isn't it? Especially the first 8 months. Yes, they dropped a game in June. Yes, they dropped a game here, but it's 2 games in those 8 months. Yeah, it is, and it is happening now. There will be a barrage now towards the end of this year. But then I think
summer onwards is mental.
Yeah. But then next year again, then 2020, it'll probably drop off again. I do have a feeling it will.
I just think if you look at the games they released on the 3DS and Wii U, say added together, they were releasing a game a month on average. And I kind of expected
you got to remember that developing for 3DS was a lot easier and a lot faster than doing HD graphics and stuff like that.
True.
But then you would also think they would have addressed that by now. And they would have evened the teams out better and evened the space between games. And all this stuff I've been reading about Yoshi being held back for a year. That's just... Have you seen that as well? That apparently Yoshi was finished a year ago.
But they've held it back to fill a gap, basically. Yeah.
Don't know. Like I said, I'm not bothered, but I think I just expected a bit more. I think it's just things that you think about, what Retro's game. Where's that? It's been missing for so long. There's a lot of developers that haven't released that much. And it was just, whereas, Animal Crossing, I kind of expected that maybe a bit sooner than it came. That's been 6 years since that came out, for example. And I think, I don't care, but I just thought it was, especially after that first year of the Switch, because I just thought, maybe not at that rate, but a better rate than they've been giving it us. I just thought it would get a bit more. But the second half of this year looks ridiculous, so it's going to be fine. It's more of a, like I say, I'm not bothered, but it's just more of a, that's kind of been a bit disappointing. I kind of thought we'd see a little bit more from them last year and this year, but they're making up for it at the end of the year, so that's absolutely fine, barring any delays of any games into next year. But we'll see about that. But moving forward, we'll end on a positive. What are you most excited about that we know? Don't care about that. What do you want them to do with the Switch? Obviously, Nick, it's already your favourite console, but is there anything you want that would even further enhance how amazing this is?
I would like them to stick with this system. Develop this. Basically, I would like them to turn the Switch into a phone. And every 2 years, they release an upgraded version, which is more powerful, which is faster. And basically, everything we've got now on cart and on the hard drive, whatever it is, flash memory, we get to keep for the next 10 years and just play, and they'll incrementally update. And I think maybe at the end of this year we'll see more portable version, which I would be interested in, and it would make me play it more portably if it was a bit smaller, a bit lighter, maybe didn't have detachable Joy-Cons. Something I could take around in my bag and wouldn't worry about breaking as much as I would worry about breaking the Switch. And then maybe next year something more powerful, and just sort of do that step every couple of years. Something lighter, less powerful, and then the next year something more powerful, and then just keep sort of recycling it. I think that's the future, to be honest.
And as long as it keeps
if they get rid of the Switch and start at something new from scratch, I think it's going to be a disaster. I think, look what Microsoft's doing now as well. We talked about it last week a bit. They're moving completely away from consoles into something different. And I think Nintendo probably with time will do the same. And they should, really, to be honest. It makes sense.
That's what you want most.
That's what I want, yeah. And of course, sequels to F-Zero and Wave Race in 1080, please.
Of course. Wave Race, surely. Do you think it's going to come? Obviously, we chat about it all the time. Do you think we're going to get a new Wave Race?
Is NST still together or not?
Don't think so. Not in this. I don't think so, no.
Not in the strictest terms, no.
No, then. Not going to happen, unfortunately.
No. What about
Wave Race Blue Storm HD? Yes. Maybe. Maybe the first two combined, yeah.
I will take that. So, Greg, what does Jacob want to come to the Switch in the next 2 years?
Well, he's obviously looking forward to Paw Patrol. He really is actually really into Paw Patrol at the minute. For me, it is Nick sort of touched on it there with Wave Racing 1080 and stuff. I just kind of want one of those franchises that I love from like the Nintendo 64 era. I kind of just want one of those games, even just one of them to come back, like a Pilot Wings or obviously Wave Race, F-Zero, 1080, just something in that sort of area. And also like Nick, obviously like PlayStation and Xbox, they've pretty much just been like iterating ever since they started making consoles, just making them better and stuff, whereas Nintendo kind of seemed to start from a clean slate every time. It's like the Switch is so good, it's so convenient for me. It's like I'm not sure where they go after that. It's like you feel like they almost have to keep iterating on it this time, like to make those improvements every time, because I just can't imagine them releasing something again that's just completely tailored to the TV. You don't have something that you can take around with you, so I kind of hope for that as well.
So basically it's the same as Nick.
Yeah, and then like I want to see like a virtual console of sorts. I don't imagine they're going to call it a virtual console, but I want to be able to play absolutely everything on Switch.
It's basically expanding their the Nintendo Switch Online service in it, and just adding all the other consoles.
With
make
even
it
with
bigger and
online
better.
playing stuff, that would be amazing. And you kind of touched on it, like with the lack of the pointer on the Joy-Cons and stuff. That is the one thing that's missing, because obviously, like I mentioned earlier about whenever they were talking about the rumours about the Wii U and stuff with the screen and all, my desire at that point was always sort of like, I love the Wii remote, but I kind of wish it had more buttons on it, so I wish you had like the traditional controls with all the motion and everything you can do with the Wii as well. And the Switch pretty much almost has absolutely everything available to you, but it is just that pointer that's missing. So you are going to miss out on games, like they can't bring stuff like House of the Dead and stuff really to the Switch. So there is just that one.
The conduit.
Yeah.
I can see them iterating, like you said, iterating and making the Switch more powerful. But they could iterate on the Joy-Cons as well and add a little IR sensor in one or both of them. So you could have dual shooting games. I could see them doing that.
The thing is, they do have the camera on the right Joy-Con on the bottom,
on
so
the
they
bottom,
could, if they could make, presumably you could make a wee shell that just clips on and you can fire away.
Yeah, there's got to be a workaround there, but I can see them iterating and changing the Joy-Con over time as well, to make it better as well.
So what about you, Lee?
Well, apart from like the boys have said, they've hit upon everything, and that the infrared pointing thing as well, which could be iterated upon by a new Joy-Con design, keeping the form factor but adding that extra functionality into it. I don't need anything else. It's
far more talk about this pointer than I anticipated there ever to be about the Switch. Like, out of everything about it, the pointer was like, I didn't think it was that important, but it clearly is.
We haven't mentioned it
So other than
for
the
2
pointer.
years, and now it's all about the pointer.
I know. So is that it? Literally just sort the pointer out and you're happy?
I'm so happy with what the Switch has done. It's like we've said so many times in the past as well, it is so close to becoming my console of all time, if it's not already.
Yeah, as soon as we get Ghost Squad on Switch, we're sorted.
I played so much Ghost Squad.
I know, it's just so easy just to go through it again and again.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, you kind of touched on it, but the main thing I was going to say was like a more fleshed out virtual library. I think they will do it, but bringing in N64, Game Boy, SNES, stuff like that'll really tip it over the edge. Folders, I can't believe none of you mentioned folders. We need folders. This console's nothing without folders. Yeah, I think in just keep increasing what it's doing, kind of like Nick said, the indie scene is amazing on the Switch. Keep that going. Third parties are increasing. That can only kind of bolster it as well. And actually just new versions of games that we love. People talk about new IPs are great. New IPs are great, and I do want new IPs as well. But actually, surely part of being a Nintendo fan is because we've got a history with them and we've played games that we loved, and actually new versions of classic games I want a new Punch Out, I want a Mario Strikers, give me a Battalion Wars and Advance Wars. Actually I'd rather that than new IP, if I'm going to be honest. If they said you can have a new IP or do you want a new Wave Race, I'd be like, Wave Race. If they said do you want 5 new IPs or a remake of Blue Storm with no effort put in whatsoever, give me Blue Storm. It's like, actually, so I want more of the classic stuff kind of coming out for the Switch, all those games that we've mentioned many times. Yeah, just keep it going. It's an amazing console, but this has been a long one. It's late for us all, ridiculously late for Nick. Glee's got to go to work.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So thanks as always, guys, and we'll chat to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Arms is better than Smash. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nintendo Review Podcast. If you like our content, please don't forget to subscribe, give us a like, and ask us a question. You can find this very podcast on all good podcast providers such as iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. Just search for the Nintendo Review Podcast. We are also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, YouTube, and our very own website, nintendoreview.co.uk, where you'll find great content such as news, reviews, and impressions. Drop by and say hello. Podcast extras! Extras! Podcast extras! Extras!
On the 17th of March in 2015.
Are we really dropping what we've been playing, by the way? Because I got a big page of notes here about Smash Brothers.
On their official...
Do you know, for a split second, I thought he was going to say it's because of the Holocaust.
Delete that.
How are we going to do this? And rather than being like on the 17th of March in 2015, someone said.
No, yeah, don't do that.
I got a big page of notes here.
The Holocaust.
Yeah, it's not really my scene. Like.